This is Punk Rock and Politics, and today is March 11th, 2017, and this is episode number 12. Let's do this.
These days are strange, it's true.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
If you think that punk rock doesn't mix with politics, you're wrong.
Welcome to Punk Rock and Politics. Today we're talking to the guys from the band Transience about their music, homelessness in New York, and Trump's immigration policies. So let's get to the political mosh pit, but first, here's the news of the week.
Here's what's making news.
Don't believe those phony numbers. Every time it comes out, I hear 5.3% unemployment. That is the biggest joke there is.
WikiLeaks released the Year Zero Vault 7 data drop with over 8,000 documents in it. It is one of the largest leaks in American history. The Vault 7 leaks focus on the CIA's covert spying and hacking programs, outlining Trojans and malware used to infect smartphones and smart TVs, which can remotely activate the camera or microphone, essentially allowing anyone with control of the software to spy on anyone at any time. The CIA has less oversight from Congress than the NSA, and according to WikiLeaks, the programs developed by the CIA have been lost and may now be in the hands of hackers or other state actors. The programs also allegedly were able to leave fingerprints of any other foreign agency, essentially making it impossible to trace hacks going forward. Thursday, the Republicans' American Health Care Act passed the Ways and Means Committee, passing the first hurdle of repealing the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Once the Republicans' American Health Care Act passes the House, it will then move into the Senate, where gathering votes will be difficult. Hawaii, Washington, and 4 other states plan to sue President Trump over his new immigration executive order. Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson said Thursday that the state would take President Trump to court to block enforcement of the new executive order travel ban. That has halted refugee resettlement and travel from 6 majority Muslim countries. Friday, jobs numbers were released for the month of February, adding 230,000 new jobs, which leaves the unemployment rate unchanged at 4.7%. President Trump has called the official government numbers a hoax and fake percentage.
Don't believe those phony numbers. Every time it comes out, I hear 5.3% unemployment. That is the biggest joke there is.
However, now he claims the numbers are real.
I talked to the president prior to this, and he said, to quote him very clearly, "They may have been phony in the past, but it's very real now."
Oh, what a little weasel. And on this day, in rock history, March 11th, 1977, The Clash played at the Roxy Club in London, who were supported by The Slits, the first all-female punk rock group making their debut live performance and forever changing females' role in punk rock and punk rock history. And that's the news of the week! I can't explain how much passionate, meaningful lyrics and a good hook on a song gets me excited. And needless to say, I was pretty damn excited when I discovered the band Transience. Transience is an indie alternative rock band from Long Beach, New York. These guys have been creating music together for years in various projects. However, now they clearly have a unique sound that they highlight on Transience's debut album, Skyward, which was released October 2016. I was able to talk to the band about their music and some politics. But first, let's check out one of their songs. Here's Xenophobe by Transience. was Xenophobe by Transience, and I actually have the band here with me. What's up, guys? Thanks for coming on Punk Rock and Politics.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you.
So we have a few of you guys here. Can we just go around the group, introduce your name and the instrument you play so we can hear your voice?
Yeah, I'm Luigi. I play the drums.
I'm Damien. I am the singer, and I play guitar.
And I'm Kevin. I play guitar, and I do backing vocals, I guess.
You guess. When Damien allows me, is that
basically?
No. He sings to his heart content. It's just whether his mic's on or not.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it might be unplugged, you know.
Just a little bit of Sid Vicious, you know?
Yeah, that's funny. So, I was telling you guys before we set up the recording, I really dig the song Xenophobe, and it's almost kind of uncanny how perfect it is for right now. But I'm sure you didn't just write and record it recently, did you?
I wrote that song right after Trump announced his candidacy for president. You know, the minute that I saw him give his whole big speech about the scourge of Mexicans running rampant over the country, I thought, well, okie dokie then. And then as he as the election cycle continued, I thought, oh good, we got a whole lot of material here for a song about xenophobia.
Oh yeah. Oh, the material is endless.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I think comedians are definitely having it easy, and musicians should, at least like the punk rock political musician world, should have a lot of fuel to the fire right now. So tell us a little bit about the band. How did you guys come together? How long have you been playing?
We were all in a band before this, a metal band called Execute Order 66, and
Star Wars. I like it.
Star Wars.
Dude, you guys get nice.
We broke up in somewhere around 2012, 2013, a little bit after Sandy. We lost a lot of gear. Everybody was kind of going through a transitional phase.
That's Sandy. That's guitar. The hurricane, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, this is a national show, so we don't all know. But yeah, the hurricane up in New York.
We should probably say that we're actually from Long Beach.
Yeah,
New York.
Long Beach. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a barrier island off of Long Island, which basically is right on the water below, sea level, and basically took the front of the storm, which basically put the whole island underwater for 7-8 hours.
It was a while. My house itself got a foot or two in it. Everyone's house got really messed up. So that ended up ruining our metal band. I started writing a lot of these songs shortly after. We all got together about a year ago. Me and Luigi, the drummer, we got together, recorded our first demo, later recorded an EP. Our bass player, John Antonick, who is not with us at the moment, I've been playing with him since I was in high school. I was in a bunch of different punk bands with him.
Nice.
And once he moved back from Texas, I recruited him immediately. And Kevin reached out to me a couple of months ago, expressing some interest in playing as well. So we really started getting some traction, I'd say about a little around October, right around when Skyward came out.
Okay, and that's the most recent album that has all these songs that we're playing?
Yes.
I really like the artwork on that album.
Oh yeah, that artwork's awesome.
My girlfriend's extremely talented sister, Jamie Gentile, did that. It's all watercolor. She's an amazing artist. She has a company, I think, called Painting for Hummingbirds, where she does 1 by 1.5 inch portraits.
Shout out to her.
Wow.
She's incredible.
Shameless plug right
there. Is
there.
that really, really small paintbrushes, or does she just hire fairies to paint?
Well, I'd like to think a little bit of both.
Okay.
I've seen her do it before. It's incredible. So and it really encapsulated what the band is. Everything from the color schemes to the idea of floating away from society, which God knows we'd probably all like to do a little bit from time to time.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as first being abducted or floating away. Yeah, floating away. That's definitely is kind of the vibe. But yeah, I really I dig the artwork, and then I also really like the sound. There's something I always tell any bands I always talk to who are up in the north, like the northeast region. They always, when they have the sound, you guys have that sound. I dig it. The that indie kind of
kind of like rustic.
Yeah. Yeah, I always kind of, indie rock, the Long Island sound, but people are like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't I don't know, but a lot of bands out of your area, you guys have that awesome sound, and I dig it. So
thank you.
Yeah.
We take a little bit from where we are in all of our influences. Try not to be too Long Island, but just enough Long Island.
Yeah, you definitely you need to have your own unique sound, which you guys definitely do, but you have that the little pinch of it, and some badass artwork. So definitely shout out to your girlfriend's sister, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Right on.
Amy Gentile.
All right, hey guys. Well, hey, let's get into one more song by you guys, and then we'll get back and talk punk rock and politics. So here's "The Way It Is" by Transience. The Way It Is by Transience. And all right, guys, let's get to punk rock and politics, get to the political mosh pit. So today we're going to be talking about an issue. Actually, this is a huge issue here in San Diego and LA and all of Southern California. Over in my neck of the woods is homelessness, and that's an issue you guys wanted to address. Is that a big deal out there too?
Yeah, so I graduated from school with a degree in sociology and a focus on homelessness. Interned with a nonprofit called the Coalition for the Homeless, which is one of the larger nonprofits in New York City, and recently just got hired by another nonprofit called BRC. New York City is one of the few cities in the country where, although national levels have been going down over the last few years, the homeless population in New York City continues to climb, and it actually has reached one of the highest levels since the Great Depression over the last few years. About 60,000 people on any given night, just in the shelter system. That's not even counting people sleeping on the streets, people sleeping on the transit system.
Wow, 60,000.
So
that's just the city, or is that
that's
like the
just
county?
New York City? So that's just
just the city.
The boroughs of Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and Manhattan.
Oh, geez. And how many are there? Quite a bit of shelters, or are they totally booked up?
There are a lot of shelters. I'm not entirely sure of the exact number, but probably over 50, and the system is extremely overtaxed because of how many people enter the system on any given time, and they were never really meant to be a long-term solution to this problem.
Yeah.
So recently, the Coalition for the Homeless has been pushing for supportive housing, which is the idea of getting people into housing based off of their needs. Mental health.
Yes.
Is obviously a major deal in New York City. The skyrocketing rents are like the number one cause, I believe, of homelessness. So supportive housing is meant to kind of bridge the gap to get people employed, or if they need help, get them on the proper medication, get them the proper help that they need, and it's got a very good recidivism rate. The recidivism rate is less than 10%, meaning over 90% of the people who enter this system wind up not going back to homelessness. And there's
huge.
There's been a massive push on Governor Andrew Cuomo over the last few years to really start putting money into this system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you said about the national rate going down. I wonder if that has a lot to do with other cities like Salt Lake. I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with Salt Lake. They
Yes.
built basically a tiny home community. Do you want to talk more about that?
So I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be talking about the same thing that you are, but I do know that Utah as a state was able to cut their rate, they said, by about 95%.
Yeah.
With a system actually similar to the idea of supportive housing.
Oh.
The idea of getting people into places rent-free, getting them a place to shower, a place to shave, and all of the different needs that they may have, tailored to each specific person's need, with the idea that the best way to get people employed is to clean them up, get them the help that they need, and, stop stigmatizing the homeless as just being people that don't want to work or, all sorts of things. So I do know that Utah has a massive housing thing that helped contribute to their rates going so far down.
Exactly, and I think the how theirs is that it's not the normal, but then their rates would kind of fluctuate the whole national numbers, because I know here in San Diego it's only getting worse and worse. And here when we had the what was it, the baseball, the All-Star game, I think it was 2016 All-Star game, the mayor here, Mayor Faulkner, he actually put in rocks along a lot of the sidewalk areas, concreted rocks in to not allow where a lot of homeless people typically sleep, basically kind of to shoo them away from where all the tourists are coming. So I mean, that's how we here in San Diego are solving this problem. We're not addressing the problem. It's really just horrible to see that happen.
New York City has something very, very similar. They, in the 90s, starting with Giuliani and the rise of the broken window theory, which is that, if you see a broken window in a neighborhood, you're more likely to think that neighborhood's not being watched. So the idea was to crack down on quality of life crimes, homelessness, drug addiction, squatting, things like that. And so as a result, they started installing, spikes on the sides of buildings. They started building benches that were kind of in waves. You see them all throughout Queens with the idea that people can't sleep on them. So our idea is very similar. Hey, let's just, if we get them out of sight, then it basically goes away, right?
Yeah.
So it's the whole idea.
Yeah, and then building the homeless shelters, it's the not in my backyard kind of mentality also, because and then I see a lot of people there, they get mad and angry here in San Diego, the homeless people are defecating on our business property or on our house. And then they'll go and say, oh, we can't have public restrooms because the homeless people are doing drugs in there. It's like, well, what do you want?
It's one thing or the other. I know. And that's kind of what I am working towards in my life. And, why I picked homelessness as an area of focus, because I believe that homeless people serve as one of the greatest demographics in the country that are completely voiceless, and people do not like to go to bat for them because, as you said, you can have all the sympathy in the world, but no one wants them in their backyard. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants them around. Mm-hmm. So that's why I started getting involved with these nonprofits, is to try and start not just doing advocacy work, but trying to push for smarter, more efficient policies that ultimately lowers taxpayer burdens, as well as getting these people another chance at their lives. It's only to the benefit of society to try and figure out the problem and try and figure out better solutions.
Yeah. And you said it perfectly. Lowering taxpayer burden, the Republicans' ears perk up, and then helping people, get off the streets and bettering their lives, the liberals' ears pop up. So why the hell can't we do something about this problem? You think because it would benefit society as a whole, but yeah, it's almost ridiculous. So there's good on you for doing all that work and working on all those nonprofits. Are there quite a bit of nonprofits out in New York addressing this?
There are, and there has to be, and on Long Island as well. One I think is called the Alliance to End Homelessness, and then there's a couple of other things that I think have the word coalition in them, because the problem is so pervasive. Mm-hmm. And Long Island had a pretty large Long Island is notable in that they were able to cut their veterans homeless rate by something like 99%, something really, really high. And obviously veterans are one of the main demographics affected by homelessness, trying to reintegrate themselves into civilian life. Mm-hmm. And so that's a massive victory. But, you can imagine, when you're dealing with, 60,000 people on any given night in the shelter system, hundreds of thousands of people on the streets on any given night, and throughout the year, it takes a lot of work. And, the state is ultimately going to be overburdened. So it's up to nonprofits and other corporations to try and pick up the slack.
Jeez. Yeah. And then do you, are a lot of those, are they all privately funded? I mean, the corporations obviously, but, are they relying on state or federal grants by any chance?
To some extent, yes. There's some availability of state grants that are going to be available. Federal, I'm not too sure about, and I couldn't really think of specific block grants. What the names are, but I do know that most of these do. Like the company that I just got involved with, they work heavily with the MTA, which is the transit authority here. So there's some degree of state funding there.
Right. I would imagine they're hugely affected, the transit system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, so because when it comes to grants and everything, especially right now with the Trump administration, and not just the Trump administration, but basically the swing to the right throughout the whole country, the grants for anything always kind of worries me that the grants will dry up, and then the lack of money kind of slows down any progress that's been made.
Right.
So, but another issue we're going to kind of swing over to is huge, I would imagine, in New York. I know it's huge here in San Diego and Southern California, is immigration.
Yes.
Yeah. And Trump had his executive order he passed for banning people, and then that was struck down. And now he's going to put a new ban forward. So what do you think it's going to be the same thing or even worse, or what do you think?
So I have a couple of ideas in this, but I'm going to pivot a little bit to my guitar player and drummer here, because they are actually they are children of immigrants who came to this country.
Let us know. Yeah, let's hear about this.
Yeah, Kevin, you can go ahead.
All right. So, I'll speak on behalf of Luigi. We are basically, either immigrants or first generation, relatives of immigrants. So, this is a very relevant topic to us just because, we have immediate and extended family who are basically, either citizens or, or residents of this country, mm-hmm. or, in residents or, citizens of our, home countries. And, this is definitely a topic that, hits home just because it's basically on the forefront of our personal lives.
Yeah. And as far as the specifically talking about bans on the Middle East, I really did not appreciate the fact that a lot of people tried to pretend that this wasn't a Muslim ban because Rudy Giuliani, brave man that he is, went on national television and said, hey, Donald Trump asked me, I want to do a Muslim ban. How do I do it legally? And Donald Trump, on multiple occasions throughout his candidacy, said, I want to have a full ban of Muslims. So the idea that we could then, the amount of rationalization that we have to have as a people to be like, well, we need to keep people out all the time forever. I mean, whether it's about the Middle East and the idea that we're just letting in refugees who are going to subsequently blow up the country despite there being not a single recorded event of terrorism as a result of letting a refugee in, like specifically talking about the Syrians. Or in the case of all the Mexicans are rapists and criminals, illegal immigration from Mexico has something like a 50% net boost to the economy. Deporting all of the illegal immigrants in the country would result in some crazy number like $2 trillion or $1 trillion in lost revenue, because you're talking about the deportation of 11 million people, 8 million of whom work regularly full time. And I think that the courts did land a major victory, and I think the people landed a major victory by striking down the initial ban. But I believe that we're only a month into this administration, and they're going to get more and more creative, especially with, young puppet master Bannon behind there, pulling all the strings.
Bannon and Pence and Priebus.
President Bannon? President Bannon.
President Bannon. President Bannon.
Yeah, I definitely see Trump's he kind of just went all at it. I think he had a lot of say trying to pass that, because I think if it was let's say any other normal Republican or a Pence or something, I think they would have passed something that wouldn't have been struck down by courts. And one of the things that really, really pissed me off the most, well, there's two things, well, a lot of things, but the main things, was the green card members and people who had visas who were in transition who were detained. That really was like, you idiots, dude. Write the executive order so it starts 48 hours after you sign it or something, and then you solve that goddamn problem. Like, how complicated is that, And then the other one is,
I don't think he read executive order.
Well, then that almost even makes it worse, because whoever wrote that shit, they should have passed it by a lawyer or two.
He reads the title and then.
I'm pretty sure some presidential aide just probably gave him the brief summary, and he was like, "All right, I'll roll with that."
But can we think about how insane it is that we're a bunch of people against this ban, and the idea of Donald Trump not reading this, we're trying to give him pointers on how to run a dictatorship. Like, hey, do you want to run an unconstitutional executive order? Make it so that it's 2 days later and don't affect green card.
It is horrible. It is
pointers on how to run an authoritarian regime.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, okay, and then that's a good point, but it just makes me wonder, you would think they're just so haphazardly doing crazy shit that they're not even running it by their lawyers or having it looked over. That just blew my mind. But the other thing that really pissed me off was that the countries that were all banned, we've been bombing them.
Yeah,
that is the number one thing that pissed me off, because the refugee crisis and the instability that's been going on in all these countries, well, except Iran, of every other country, all 6 other countries, we've been dropping bombs, or we had boots on the ground, destabilizing their countries. And our foreign policy is a direct result, creating all these refugees, and now we want to go and shut them out. And that's what really pissed me off.
Yeah, and it's
just messed up.
I'm a Jewish American who I never felt like, oh crap, I have to stand up for being Jewish, until this president came along, and I was like, really? I have to remind everyone that refugees are not, that this is not how this works. The parallels that you can draw between the fleeing of European Jews in the wake of Hitler, and what you're seeing now is kind of striking. There are literally charts, polls that were done in the late 30s that were like, should we accept Jewish immigrants? And the majority of Americans were like, no, we shouldn't. And, obviously you don't want to go here and say, well, we're ignoring the Holocaust, but you are ignoring the destruction of people's lives. Yeah. And you're pretending that we did not have something to do with that. And you can't wantonly bomb any country you want in the name of freedom and then not expect there to be some sort of backlash. And that really is something that gets to me too, just this idea that we can pretend that this isn't a big deal. And we can just go, well, look at what's happening in Europe. Look at what's happening here. We take in less immigrants than almost any of the other major European countries by large amounts, and I understand that there is an ocean between us, but that's not really the point.
Well, and they're vetted, by the UN. They're vetted by the UN, and then we vet them. So they're vetted several times over. Any refugee who has refugee status granted by the UN, they've been vetted several times. It's ridiculous that the conservative argument is, we're just letting anyone in. It's not anyone. It's a very hard process to be declared a refugee.
Absolutely. Yes. Not to mention, between the refugee crisis and the deportation of, at this point, we're talking about legal citizens. We're talking about people are being detained because they are Hispanic. People are being detained because they have family members who are from another country. It's insanity, and it makes the blood boil because, like I said, I'm sitting next to two of my best friends, people I've been playing music with for years, who are directly affected by these measures. I have tons of friends who are directly affected by these measures, and I don't understand how people can look at this and just go, well, it's fine. It's fine, and we need to make the country safe and good and great, and nothing can be bad, and we'll just kick out all the brown people, is what it boils down to. It hurts.
It really does, and it's terrifying though, because I've been into politics and watching very closely in everything ever since 2001. Really, 9/11 was kind of my what the fuck was that about? Yeah. And I just, that's when I dove into politics all the way. And I've always been going in, and it astounds me, all the pieces that have been put together, by Bush and Obama, these executive orders and these illegal wars that have been going on for, the past 16 years. And now we get this potential fascist in office. And he has all these tools, like the Homeland Security and the NSA. He has all these tools to be a fascist, essentially a dictator. And that's what terrifies me the most.
Yeah, we make it really easy. Did you have something you wanted to say, Kev?
Not just a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my I have two bands that mean a lot to me. Bad Religion and the Dead Kennedys.
Nice.
I have a Bad Religion tattoo. The Jello Biafra might be my favorite vocalist of all time. And it's insane because you think about the Dead Kennedys. You think about the song. They wrote California Uberalls in 1979. Complaining about Jerry Brown.
Yes.
You think about how many songs they have, about Reagan. Half of their songs without Reagan, they wouldn't really be able to be a band. Songs like Rambozo the Clown, and then just the idea that we can be sitting here 2017, almost 30 years after some of these seminal albums by the Dead Kennedys, over 30 years, I think, for their first album, right? Wasn't their first album came out in, I think, 1981. So we're talking.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so we're talking about over 30 years now.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's just the same thing. History, it's that whole idea of Matthew McConaughey's character from True Detective. Time's just a flat circle and nothing means anything.
It's a quote, Samuel Clemens, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yes. And I have so many history I have one of my best friends is a history major, and it's just fun to kind of be like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, yeah, this happened already all the time. This always happens every time.
It's really crazy, and there's all sorts of aspects, especially, you know, with the whole the Russian connection and the Red Scare thing, which a lot of it's legitimate, but a lot of it's overhyped. It's strange times we're living in, and it's just so much stuff that's going on. I think people are just either can't keep up or they're intimidated by how much is happening.
My drummer has been very, very mad recently. I've seen him starting to go at people on Facebook posts.
Yeah.
My drummer's having a particularly hard time understanding how it is that we can see our president. You know, at this point, we're not talking about speculation. We're not talking about what would Trump do in office, what would Hillary Clinton do in office. We're talking about Donald Trump is in office, has people around him. He's doing things, making actual moves, and Luigi's having a lot of problems going, how are you guys justifying this? Because a lot, it's the same with really anyone who follows anyone too much, any sort of extremism, but it boils down to hardcore Trump supporters can rationalize anything, and
it baffles me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
It borders on the delusional, and I understand that, people have different politics than me. It just feels like at some point that's not what this is about. It's not about – there are some things that just aren't okay. We can't roll back gay rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I don't think that will happen because of the Supreme Court. There's no way that and that's what everyone's freaking out about Neil Gorsuch. And Neil Gorsuch is totally right wing. He's he's a right wing judge. However, he's replacing Scalia. Come on, he's replacing a hardcore right. So even if Obama did get in Merrick Garland, who's like a corporatist centrist, who wouldn't even have been that awesome anyways, even if he would have gone in there, then it would have been a change. But right now, nothing changed. Now, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies and Trump puts someone in, then I'm going to be terrified.
And the problem with Gorsuch, right? That's I got the name right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem with him is, much like Scalia, he is also an originalist, which means he also believes that the Constitution is not a living document, that it is there, and we have to defer to the 10th Amendment for everything. Yeah. So it's more the idea that you have a vice president who does not like gays. I mean, let's call it what it is. Yeah. He doesn't like gays. He doesn't like the idea of them. And the president said multiple times he was going to protect transgenders' rights. He's going to protect gay rights. African Americans love me. All of this nonsense that he spoke, and nothing that he's done has shown anything like that. And I don't like to go with the idea of people need to wake up because everybody has their things. It just is, at some point we all have to realize that the guy's not going to work for us, which is really what this boils down to. Are you a coal miner? He's not going to work for you. Yeah. It's not going to last. Mm-hmm. Are you somebody that believes that you need to roll back all regulations and he's going to bring taxes down and bring back money to the middle class? It's not going to happen. Yeah. Look at his cabinet.
It just boils down. It just boils down to just basically the populace not understanding how the government actually works, not understanding the scope of power that one person can have.
In essence, we like to think the best of our country, but the fact is that right now we don't have that right. And frankly, America's history isn't too kind to it.
No,
and
you're right.
We have to accept that. We have to accept that it's okay for your country to not be a perfect utopia because they don't exist. But for God's sakes, we got to work towards something better than this.
Yeah, the whole American exceptionalism and people who are like very anti-burning flags. Those people, they scare me because it's America's the greatest damn country that's ever been made under God and ever will be. And it's like, well, like you said, even the Japanese internment camps during World War II. The history of how we have treated immigrants isn't that kind. I mean, sure, we're a nation of immigrants. We talk a good game. But if you really go back and look at the history, like you said.
I don't like them.
No, not really. I mean, even back in the day, it was white immigrants. Even we didn't like the Irish, but
we didn't like the Irish. We didn't like Italians. Yep. We didn't like Jews. We didn't like the Germans. We didn't like anyone who spoke a slightly different language than us.
Yeah.
And we've just shifted the blame over and over. I mean, when you look at slogans, obviously the Irish need not apply as a famous example, but when you look back to the early 1900s and you see some of the things that were said about Italian Americans, it is the same thing as what we're talking about now. And with the idea of, going not just on immigrants, but the idea of differences in general, like differences in religion, like Muslims being something worse than everyone else. When John F. Kennedy when he was running for president, people were like, you can't put a Catholic in office.
Yeah.
You can't put an...
They're like the Vatican. The Vatican's going to take over.
Yeah.
That
so it's this, and can you think about that now? You say that to anyone, they're like, what do you mean a Catholic can't be in office? I mean,
but they say the same thing about Muslims, though, now. Like, everyone's like, Obama's a Muslim. Well, first of all, he's not. Or, but even if he was... Who cares?
Who the hell cares?
Like who cares?
I don't give a damn what God you worship as long as you are a good person.
Or if you don't worship a God,
I'm an atheist. I am a full-blown atheist. If you worship, if you don't worship, I care if you're a good person and if you're a politician, if you want to work for the greater good. That's it. That's all it is for me.
As long as you do everything, in mind of the people that you serve.
I hate when they bring religion into it, and especially the right wing. They've just been going at it with the whole Keith Ellison, how he was nominated, for the chair. He's
a black Muslim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're just freaking out.
Yeah, I mean they're playing to where they're coming from, with the rise of Christian fundamentalism coming up. And it's easy just to bait those kind of people. All they want is votes.
Yeah.
And they know the game they're playing.
And it's it is really easy for us to mock. I don't actually really take as much blame on the people as I do the people manipulating them, because at the end of the day, people. I don't look at people. People aren't monoliths. I don't believe that every Trump supporter is a racist, xenophobic asshole. That's not how it works. Everybody has their issues. What I take problem with is the politicians who take these there are people in America who are legitimately starving, legitimately having problems putting food on the table. People who, for example, people in Detroit and Pittsburgh and Buffalo who relied on factories. Those factory jobs left, and they legitimately could not find work because the entire infrastructure of their city was revolving around that. And it's the same thing with coal towns and with steel towns. And these people want to just get by. And the idea that there are people in our government who go, oh, we can help you get by, and just furiously lie and stoke all of the fires necessary, scapegoat whoever you have to.
I mean, it's also in addition to that, they're like telling people, oh, we're going to bring back the your old jobs, we're going to make it back, bring it back to what it was like 10, 15 years ago. Even though that's just totally throwing out the argument that, the idea that, times are changing, people have to adapt.
Progress is progress. Coal can't come back.
We already
resource.
opened Pandora's box. There's no getting that shit closed again. Like, once we started free trade, it's over. You're not gonna. We want to bring all the jobs back and make an iPhone here in America and pay people like a living wage and benefits. Okay, iPhones will cost what, $5,000 a phone, maybe more.
I mean, that's why we have to move towards, other industries like renewable energy and other fields, technologies. Some, at least that we can develop and be at the forefront on the global stage.
Exactly.
And, it does definitely merit mentioning that we cannot put the entirety of this, the onus of this problem on Republicans. It is very easy to demonize them. But I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, 100%. I did not like Hillary Clinton. I voted for Hillary Clinton because God help me if I was going to vote for an orangutan. But I voted for her out of what I felt was necessity. But the Democrat and the refusal to elect Keith Ellison to DNC chair is the same nonsense. This is why you lost votes. This is a massive reason for why you lost the election. And the bottom line is, neither of you serve the public. You all serve the rich and the people that can get you reelected. And that's why I feel that the most important thing we can do as a people is, through grassroots movements, the idea that we will kick your asses out of office. We can't let ourselves as a country be bullied by lobbyists and, corporate interests who do not seek to serve anyone but themselves. And ultimately, the left and the right need to understand that. And I feel that the only way you truly can get them to understand that is by making sure that they do not win re-election. So I think it is really important that with these midterms coming around, you make sure these people they don't get their jobs back. They failed us. These people have failed us as a country. And if we don't step in to do something, it's going to get worse. And we have to think outside of ourselves. I'm a white, straight male. I need to worry about people who are not my ethnicity, people who are not my sexuality, who are not my gender, who are not my sex. I need to worry about these things because it's, as the famous adage goes, first they came for the communists. I said nothing.
I think it's also as far as the scapegoating thing, it all goes back to Nixon's Southern strategy when they basically went to go collect all the disenfranchised Democrats, Southern Democrats, the Dixiecrats, who were pissed at LBJ for passing the Civil Rights Act. So it really, that's where that unholy alliance started. And then just like you said, Trump, I don't really think he's a racist. I just think he's a narcissist and self-serving.
I think he needs power.
And he's using those racist terms and that scapegoating in his power, and that's bringing out the racist. And I think the scapegoating is and the racism and anti-immigration and everything, I think it all is kind of a symptom of a greater cause of inequality that we have in America. And just going back to homelessness and linking it kind of together is, we have we can kind of, scapegoat the homeless for, we need to get them out of here because they're messing up our community, and we kind of push them out to the side. And same with the immigrants. So
it's really easy to just push all of your problems onto someone else. It's very easy for us to look at illegal immigrants and go, well, they're taking American jobs. It's easy for us to look at people on welfare and go, oh, you're taking money, you're taking taxpayer money, and the whole idea of you're buying lobster with welfare money.
The welfare queen.
I came from my parents were lower working class. If it were not for my mother, we would have been out on the streets. We were in a rent-controlled apartment. My father he was not good at holding down a job. My mother did whatever she could to get by. And I'm here to tell you, people, that's the idea that we can blame the poor for their circumstances is this idea of rugged individualism. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps, which, did you know, was originally an adage to mean something that is extremely hard, if not impossible, to do. Have you ever thought about the term trying to pick yourself up?
How do you physically do that?
And it's the scapegoating is very easy. It's very easy for us to go, oh, well, our country's bad because of other people, and if we just got rid of these other people, things would be fine. And it's important to remember that that's not the way the world works. Nothing is that cut and dry. There is no issue in the entirety of history that is so black and white as, well, it's this. And that's it. There's nothing else to it. And especially, once you go down the slippery slope of being able to just blame Muslims, blame illegal immigrants, blame Mexicans, blame Syrian refugees, you're really not that far off from barring them from your country entirely and then just getting rid of the other people you don't like. Everyone made a big stink about the basket of deplorables, but this is really what we're getting down to. The deplorables are going to end up being people that don't look like us, that don't think like us, that we view as threats. And ultimately, we're just going to go back to how it was in the 1900s with, we'll just avoid everyone forever, wall ourselves up.
It's I'm a huge nerd. You guys should use the Star Wars previous band 66. There's I don't know if you watch Star Trek, but there's a Star Trek episode, like Deep Space Nine, I believe. They go back to the 21st century, and in San Francisco, they have the rich elite who live in, wonderful utopian society, like advanced society, and then they just have gated communities where they just let the poor and mentally ill and everyone just kind of just run amok and just live in there. They're not criminals, they're just poor and can't afford anything, so they just put them in this, not a prison, but it's a huge community that's just gated off, and just put them in there and ignore them. I'm like, when I was a kid and I first saw that, I was like, wow, that's crazy. But now I'm like, wow, our society would totally do that and just ignore those people in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, that's why I kind of, I get made fun of a fair amount for being, Mr. Politically Correct, for being Mr. SJW. And at this point, I've just kind of accepted that I'm fine with that because I want people to be okay. If you and me have a disagreement about the way tax money should be used, that doesn't make you a shit person. That doesn't make me a shit person. We have a difference of economic opinion. Yeah. That's fine. But when you get into the concept of, well, they need to get out because they broke the law, because they came here illegally, or, we need to, listen, we can't let refugees in because what if they blow us all up? We're getting to a point where I can't really view this as political opinions anymore. It's kind of like, no, you're scared. And it's okay to be scared. I lived in New York in 9/11. I was in Queens. My father was a first responder. He wasn't a firefighter, but he worked with the FDNY, and he was on ground zero for 3 days straight, sifting through human rubble.
Oh, God.
And I remember this. I remember all of this. He voted for Bush again because it scared him.
Of course.
And I remember this. I understand how the fear works. We all understand that when you are scared of something, you do whatever you can to avoid it. But that is not the way that you can conduct yourself as a country, and that's not the way you get to be a humane society. This is the bottom line. It's, I understand that I probably sound like some dumb liberal elite cuck, but we are who we are.
Well, I always tell people my tagline, I'm so far to the left, I touch the right. So I love to give social warriors a little bit of trouble, but it's all in good fun. But let's wrap this up. I mean, we had a really good discussion about homelessness in New York and San Diego, and also immigration, and we covered a lot of ground. So thanks for coming on Punk Rock and Politics, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, definitely. But before you guys head out, can you tell everyone who's listening online what's the best way to find your music online?
So we got a Bandcamp. It's transienceLI.bandcamp.com. We're also on Facebook. Don't confuse us with the Australian metal band. Spotify made that mistake. We're on Spotify as Transience. Our album's name is Skyward. So I would say Bandcamp, and in our Facebook, facebook.com/TransienceLI is the best way to get in contact with us, to find all of our music. And like I said, it's on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff.
Nice. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much, guys, for stopping on Punk Rock and Politics. Hear one more song on our way out. So here's Wreckage.
When I first saw it there amongst the wreckage, to a former life, I nearly lost it. All those memories were burned away, and I felt nothing after that. Everywhere life was scattered on the streets, and I was
Thanks for checking out Punk Rock and Politics. If you enjoyed the show and the information brought to you, please subscribe and share the podcast. It helps us here at Punk Rock and Politics, but more importantly, it helps the featured bands gain exposure. Also, if you know any bands or musicians who would like to join the political mosh pit and have their music featured on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast, please email us at punkrockandpolitics@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. And rock on, political junkies.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives.
Doing a better job of talking to each other. The left hand now knows what the right hand is doing.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.